start us off, Jared. Traditional seasonal
Really?
question.
Well, it'll be a tough one. You rebuilt the team, and you have I got eight new guys in the team this year. 7. Okay. How much pressure does that put on you in the team to turn things around?
Well, from March, the time my season ended, until July, I thought we had to have a lot of wins. And I thought we did that. I thought my staff did an unbelievable job of navigating recruiting, the transfer portal, and high school recruiting. And we were able to land 6 guys, and then one just fell in our lap at the end with Dior. But it was a lot of work, a lot of phone calls, a lot of communication on our part, just trying to really make sure we get the right guys that we feel like can help us going forward, that can help us get better as a program, as a basketball team, and to try to take steps forward in building this thing.
How do you know you don't know until you see them, but how do you know they're the right guys?
You don't know as you go through recruiting. You think, you hope. One of the things that was great is that we were able to bring them all on campus. We were able to do traditional visits. We were able to go out and see them. We were able to get them here. That's a lot better than doing it on Zoom and just phone calls. So that helped. But you don't truly know someone until you're with them all the time. And we've had a chance, for the most part, to be with these guys for a good part. We had some guys that weren't here in the summer session, so we didn't see them. As far as getting them here and with them every day until the start of school at the end of August. But we've had a few weeks with them now and feel like they're the right guys.
Jeff, I know it's just been workouts, but Chris Carter, Pittsburgh Post.
I forgot, sorry.
But I know it's just been a few workouts, but what can you tell about this group's level of maturity? Just a lot of new guys coming in, some guys like John sticking around. What can you tell with the maturity level and how they're preparing?
Well, we're older in the backcourt. We have 4 5th or 6th year guys. With Jamari, it's a Nike back, and then adding 2 new guys with Greg and with Nelly. So you have more experience there, and to be quite frank, you have men. Those guys are men. John has experience. He has a year under his belt now of playing college basketball the whole year. Nate Santos has that as well as William, and so I think we hope there's some maturity there and some leadership. And just, the right attitude of trying to be better every day and trying to be about the right things.
Jeff, to build off of that, I'm Noah Hiles with the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette. Nice to meet you. To build off of that, with bringing in these older players, obviously there's an expectation for them to produce, but is there an expectation for them to be leaders as well, even with them being new to the group?
Yes, there is. Nelly comes from a situation where he's won, and he's won at a high level. And so we need that experience. Greg has been a part of teams that have been talented and have won, but he's also been a part of teams that are talented and haven't won. And so bringing those experiences as well. Obviously, Jamaris has had a year in our program now, and getting Nike back, is big for us. And so I do expect them to be leaders both on and off the court.
With Dior, you described it as falling into your lap. I mean, what is the background there? I mean, had you, were you aware of him? Did you have much contact with him before?
I never had contact with him. I knew who he was. I'd seen him play. But obviously, he was committed before, excuse me, at a young age, I think 9th, 10th grade. And then when he, decommitted, from the first school, he made another commitment and signed with another school. So there was no communication.
Jeff, Stephen Thompson, Fan Nation inside the Panthers. This isn't the first time that you've had to kind of reload your roster and bring in a bunch of new guys. Have you learned anything about bringing together a team like that over the years?
Well, we've had to do it basically every year. And so hopefully we've gotten better at it than we have in the past. Again, one of the big things is that I think that certainly helped us is the fact that we were able to do it in person. The last time we were in the situation where we did it, everything was on Zoom. So those guys, you know, you didn't. The first time I ever saw them is when they walked in my office, and so I do think there was a little bit more familiarity, relationship-wise, and things like that with all of these guys, as opposed to the last times.
So when you became aware then Dior was a possibility, I mean, what was your reaction and how did you approach the situation? And did you have to look into the background a lot?
Yeah, certainly have to look into the background. You try to do that with everyone. And so you ask a lot of questions. You know, you call people that, you know, you feel like maybe have touched the kid in some way. As far as coaching them, being around them, whether it's at a camp, whether it's at a USA basketball trial. Obviously, he has a very different path, you know, from the things that he's been through. And so you do all of that, and obviously conversations with him, a lot of conversations with him on the phone, FaceTime, his family, just trying to get as much information as you possibly can.
What stood out to you when you watched him, you know, as you were kind of evaluating his play on the court? What stood out to you?
Well, I mean, he's talented. That's the first thing with any kid, like he's talented. And so I knew that. I didn't have to really look much at that. I knew the talent, but it was questions about all the other things. You know, why have you been in so many different schools? Why there's been so much movement? You know, what's the real story with that? You know, trying to find out as much about his character as you possibly can. You know, again, you ask a lot of questions, you call a lot of people, and you do those things.
What were the answers to those questions?
I'm not going to get into the answers to it. The one thing that, with everything, but the one thing that kept coming from everyone that we talked to, and it was a lot of people, is that he's really misunderstood. And I think because of all the moving, you're labeled. It's easy to get it, you know, to get labeled in what we do. And he was labeled, and everyone talked about he's a really good kid. He's really misunderstood.
Coming in with all that, he's one of the most highly touted prospects in the ACC. I mean, you were years ago starting 28 games as a freshman at Duke. What advice can you give to him, you know, on adjusting to the speed of the game, the whole feel of being in the ACC as a freshman?
Well, it's going to take time. That's the main thing. And he was one of the guys that wasn't here this summer. And so all of his stuff started right when we started school. So there's a lot to catch up on, especially strength-wise, the conditioning part. You know, you're playing against guys that are older. You're playing against guys that are more experienced. And because of all the moving, you know, there wasn't a lot of, you know, development as far as his body is concerned. And so that it's, you know, the main thing is that, you know, you have to be patient. It's going to take time. You have to work. You have to have the right attitude. You know, you have to understand that you have a reputation. Everyone's going to be watching. They want to look and see. And so to be mindful and cognizant of that, I didn't have to deal with that as much when I was that age because there weren't as many expectations with freshmen as there are now. College basketball was completely different, you know, back then. But he's a good kid. He's working. You know, he wants to be really good. He's not afraid of the work. He's been, you know, great attitude so far for us, and expect that to continue.
Jeff, how's Nike been? Just you saw him go through coming into last year. He had the transfer issues, just getting to play 2 years ago. Last year gets hurt. What's in his demeanor as a young man, just coming from that injury, building back, and now being ready this year?
Yeah, he's been great. He's been. I think he's appreciative. I'm not saying he never was appreciative, but I think he's even more appreciative now of the opportunity to play, having a chance to play, you know, being healthy. Last Monday, a week ago today, was the first time he's done 5-on-5 since the injury. So just being able to do that, he was able to put together some days last week, you know, with back-to-back 5-on-5, and yeah, it's going to be a natural build-up for him. You know, I was happy to see him, you know, take some hits and get back up and keep going because I think structurally everything is fine. The last part of it, and sometimes the most difficult part, is the mental aspect of recovering from an injury like that. But again, he knows to be patient, to work. But I think he's been, you know, really good as far as trying to be a leader with his actions, with his words, and with how he carries himself.
Were you limited at all the beginning of the season?
There'll be some limitations as far as practice is concerned. You know, we want to make sure it's a build up for him. So, you know, he won't do 100% of the practice. I think the plan this week is to do 80%. So if we do a segment that's 15 minutes long, he'll do 8 minutes of it. You know, if we do something that's 20, he'll do 18 or 6. You know, we'll just kind of play it by ear, see how he is this week. You know, we have off day on Thursday, and to see how he is, and then hopefully everything's fine. And next week it's 90%, doing 90% of everything. There's nothing physical as far as there's nothing that he can't do. It's just we'll limit some of the things as far as time is concerned.
Jeff, you mentioned the maturity and attitude and leadership with your group. How is that going to represent itself on the court? What are we going to see different?
Well, we have to see. I mean, that's the big thing. We have to see. You know, we're getting to know our guys. I've known our group together since the first day of school, which I think was August 29th. And so, again, I'm still trying to figure it out. We had 3 guys that weren't here this summer, and then Nike couldn't play. He could only do the non-contact stuff. And so seeing us collectively together is something we're still learning and trying to figure out about this group.
Coach Corey Chris at DK Pittsburgh Sports. With Guillermo playing in the summer with the Spain U20 team, winning a championship, how valuable is that kind of experience for a freshman coming into your program?
Well, it's very valuable. I think anytime a kid gets a chance to represent their country, it's something that they should really go after. And I was really happy for him that, you know, he was able to make that team. You know, he was told initially that he probably wouldn't play that much. And he was challenged by that. I remember having the conversation, do you want to do it? And he said, yeah, I want to earn minutes. And he did that. And I thought he played really well. You know, he's a talented young guy, and he's only going to get better and better, I think. But when I say they, both G and Jorge, they are unbelievable to be around because they are happy. They just bring a smile to your face with their enthusiasm, their joy of playing, their joy of being here, their appreciation of everything. But I thought that was a great experience for them.
Are they maybe a little more ready to play than a typical freshman, just with the background? And
I don't know. We'll see as we go forward. Again, I'm still learning about everyone on our team, and so we'll see. I know that they're talented. They are, you know, unique from the standpoint. They're typical European tall guys, where they're versatile. You know, they can shoot, they can pass it. They know they have a pretty good feel for how to play. Obviously, the big thing for them is strength. But they're not afraid. Like, it's not like they're thin, but they are soft. There's nothing soft about them. And so I think they're going to continue to get better and better with the work that they're putting in. They love the gym. That's the other thing. They love the gym. They love to be in here. They love the work. They're not afraid of it. So it's exciting.
Jeff, you talked about moving forward or moving the program forward a little bit. Do you have kind of an idea in your mind what that would look like success-wise this year for you to say we took a step?
I just think trying to get better every day, learning how to win, trying to win consistently, and just being, you know, locked in and all in about the right stuff, about us winning, just to be totally engulfed and concerned with us winning.
You talked about last year wanting to increase some depth and some size for your team. It seems like in recruiting you did that. I mean, obviously you haven't seen all these guys a lot, like you said, but do you feel like you will be more equipped, at least? I mean, obviously you had John, so that was one thing, but do you feel like you'd be more equipped under the hoop?
Well, the one thing we wanted to do was that we wanted to add shooting, and we wanted to add, you know, quality depth. And certainly size. I do think we've addressed that. The shooting standpoint, I'm hopeful that we're better on paper. We're better, but we got to make them when the lights are on and someone's really trying to guard us. Certainly, we've gotten more size. You know, the Twins just did that. You know, 7 foot, 6'11", but also with Fetty and his length. You know, you gain experience in the front court with Blake Henson, a guy that's done it on a high major level and, you know, played well. When he was at Ole Miss. Now, he hadn't played in 2 years, but Greg Elliott can shoot the basketball, Nelly can shoot the basketball, Blake can shoot the basketball, the Twins can shoot the basketball. And so we've really tried to add. That was probably one of the main things we were really focused on was being able to make some shots. And then hopefully our returning guys will will be able to do that for us. You know, we anticipate, you know, John being a guy that still commands a double, is able to draw fouls, and hopefully this year we can have a little bit better shooting around him.
What's John been like this, you know, just this offseason, his approach, how he took in last season, and how he's focused to be better this year?
Well, you know, he's been good. I mean, he's tried to take on a leadership role at the end of last season with really, you know, helping recruiting. He was incredibly active, you know, from that aspect. And then on the court, he's just trying to, you know, tried to expand different parts of his game. I think one of the biggest things for him is being in great shape, not good shape, but great shape. Again, last year was his first year of college basketball, really going through a whole year. And for anyone, I think, at least from my experience as a player and then coaching guys, you know, for a little bit now, normally freshmen, and John was like a freshman, even though he wasn't a freshman. It was his first 4 years. You hit a wall at some point because you've never gone that hard. You never had to practice that hard. The attention to detail has never had to be at that point. And John is still growing as far as the discipline part. He's made tremendous strides, but he still can get even better. And so we're excited about the challenge of helping him do that.
How much of a luxury in today's game, though, is it to have a guy like John? I mean, you know, nowadays people think post players, like us old school guys, are obsolete in the game. But to have a guy like John that you can throw the ball down there to when you need a tough basket and just have his physical, how much of a luxury is that nowadays?
Yeah, I don't think it's going in college. It's completely going in the pros. It's a completely different game. But in college, you know, I still think that's a huge thing. And so it is a luxury to have that, to have a guy like him that is going to, you know, we anticipate commanding a lot of attention. And like I said, hopefully we've added some shooting around him that will help us and help him, you know, be even a little bit more better, be even better than he was last year.
Coach, is the expectation still that Will could be ready for the start of the regular season?
We hope so. By the regular season, yeah, but I definitely think, knock on wood, that he'll be ready by the regular season. The goal is, we're hopeful to have him back by the first exhibition.
Is this your most talented roster at Pitt?
I think so. If you look at it on paper, I think so. But we got to produce. That's the thing.
With John on the recruiting side, did it get to a point where you had to like tell him to stop bringing you transfers to look at and things like that?
I never told him to stop because we were looking also. But you know, to be honest with you, man, it was exciting to see him, to see Jamarius, to see Nike. Those three guys really, like, right away, you know, really jumped in, and you know, they were in communication with a lot of guys. You know, and they were, you know, texting me, calling me, Coach, we need to recruit this guy. I've talked to him, or, you know, whatever. And so it was pretty exciting to see them locked in like that.
Jeff, specifically with Nelly, what attitude and leadership is he bringing to your program?
Well, you know, he's won, and he's won at a high level from the standpoint of winning your league, regular season, winning your conference tournament, and then having a chance to participate in the NCAA tournament. And in each of those areas, he's played well. In the regular season, in their conference tournament, and then in the NCAA tournament. You know, specifically, if you look last year, especially at the games they played against high major teams, he played well. And so he's a guy that has confidence. He's secure in who he is, even though he's coming up a level. I think he's secure in who he is as a basketball player, as a young man. Again, he's not afraid of the work. And he just, you know, he's a kid that grew up wanting to be here, wanting to come to Pitt. And now he has the opportunity to be here. And it's exciting for him, it's exciting for us, and we're excited to see how he can help us get better.
Do you feel like that provides a little bit extra value too, that you have someone who was around here in this area when Pitt was at its highest in basketball? He was there to watch it and be inspired by it when he was younger. Do you think him having seen that and being able to talk to his teammates about that provides value?
I hope so. I think anytime you can see success and talk about it, and you know, where it's not just coming from coaches, I think that's really good.
All right, thanks, guys.
Players here momentarily.